If I asked you right now, how's your retirement plan? Is it actually performing? And I'm not talking about investment returns. I'm talking about whether you are actually on track for retirement. If you can't answer that, you're not alone. As a financial advisor to business owners, this is the most common reason I see why business owners never get to walk away. In this video, I'll show you why so many business owners are convinced their retirement plan is working when they've never genuinely checked. You'll see exactly what it looked like for one owner who found out the hard way, not from bad luck or a bad economy, but from a plan that was set up and essentially abandoned. I'm also going to show you the one simple habit that separates the owners who walk away with what they want versus the ones who build themselves a fancy job they can never quit. A business owner, we'll call him Mark, sat across from me a few months ago, completely confident he had retirement covered. Years earlier, he'd been sold a whole life policy that was supposed to be both his retirement plan and his buy-sell agreement. He hadn't touched it since. He hadn't talked to the guy who sold it to him. He had just assumed it was doing its job in the background. When we actually opened it up and looked at what it was built to do, it wasn't even close. And what surprised me wasn't the gap. It was Mark's reaction. He wasn't relieved to finally know. He was blindsided and frankly pissed because in his mind, this was handled. Here's the thing about Mark. He's not the exception. I've sat across from dozens of business owners just like him. Different names, different industries, but the same story. They point to something, a policy, an account, an agreement they signed years ago, and they call it their retirement plan. Maybe for you, it's a whole life policy someone sold you that would double as an investment. Maybe it's a buy-sell agreement you set up with your business partner that you've quietly been counting on as your exit plan. Maybe it's a simple IRA or just a regular IRA that you started years ago and haven't touched since. Now, let's be clear, none of these things are automatically bad. A buy-sell agreement should be in place. An IRA can absolutely be a part of a real plan. But that's not the problem. The problem is nobody ever goes back and checks. You set it up once, and then you just call it good. And somewhere along the way, I have something magically turns into I'm covered. I hate to break it to you, those are not the same thing. One is a fact, the other is an assumption you've never actually tested. And if you're being honest with yourself right now, you might not know which one is true for you. And that's not a knock on you. Most business owners can't answer that question because nobody ever taught them to ask it. And the people who sold them those products usually aren't the ones that are checking back in. So why is it that business owners don't go back and check? Is it because they're lazy? It's not at all. Here's the real reason. Checking means finding out. And finding out means there's a real chance you found out you got it wrong. Nobody wants to sit across from a professional and get the bad news that they don't have it right. That the choices that they made 5, 10, 15 years ago wasn't the right one. So instead of checking, most people do the worst possible thing. They look away, or they just sweep it under the rug. Now, it's not on purpose, not with some grand decision to ignore it. It's quieter than that. It's just easier to assume it's fine than to find out it's not. And then there's the other excuse, the one that's sneakier than all. It's the excuse that there's always more time. You'll get to it after this quarter, after this hire, after things slow down. Except things never slow down. So later just keeps sliding further out, year after year, until later becomes never. This was never really a knowledge problem. You don't need a finance degree to check whether your plan is doing what it's supposed to. This is more of an avoidance problem. And avoidance doesn't care how smart you are or how well your business is doing. That's also why the specific product almost never really matters as much as people think. The real difference between the business owners who are actually on track and the ones who just think they are comes down to one thing: whether anyone has ever went back and checked. So go back to that question I asked you at the start. Could you actually answer me right now about how your plan is performing? If you're being honest and you still can't, here's the reason. Think about how you run your business. You test a new price and watch what happens. You try a new offer, and if it flops, you get rid of it. You look at the numbers every month, sometimes every week, and then you adjust. That's not optional for you. That's just what running a business means. You're never done. You're always checking, always tweaking, always making sure the thing is still working the way it's supposed to. Now think about your retirement plan. When's the last time you actually sat down and pulled it apart? The same way you pull apart a marketing campaign that wasn't converting. For most business owners, the honest answer is never. It got set up once, usually years ago by a friend, and it's been sitting there untouched ever since. Same account, same policy, same assumption. While literally everything else in your financial life gets updated, this one thing, arguably the most important thing, just sits. That's the real answer to my question. It's not that you're bad with money. Well, maybe you are. It's that you treat your business like it's alive and you treat your financial plan like it's already finished. If you've changed something about your business in the last 3 months, let's say your pricing, your offer, your system, but you haven't looked at your own financial plan in that same stretch, that's not a coincidence. That's the pattern I see almost every time I sit down with a business owner for the first time. It's also the biggest change when working with a professional. Here's when most business owners actually find out the truth. Not gradually, not through some slow realization. It's usually the exact moment they try to step back. They go to sell the business or slow down or finally take their foot off the gas. And then the math just doesn't work. The numbers they assumed would be there isn't. And by then, there's no fixing it quietly. This is the real cost of never checking. It's not just that the plan might be wrong, it's what that does to your life while you're not looking. If you never go back and test whether your plan actually works, you don't end up with freedom. You end up with a fancy job, a well-paying one for sure, maybe even one you're proud of, but it's still a job, one you built for yourself, one with your name on the door, and no clear way out. That's the unfortunate side I see over and over. Some business owner gets to walk away when they decide to, not when they're forced to, not when their health makes a choice for them, but on their own terms, on their own timeline. The other business owner still showing up at 68 years old, not because they love the work anymore, but because they're trapped to the income. Same amount of effort, same hours, same grind. The only difference is one of them created and monitored a plan, the other one just assumed it would all work out.